We'll go ahead and get the formalities out of the way here at the start. Lynn, would you lead us in the pledge?
This is your name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the advisory board. Does any member of the advisory board know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us at this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. The mission of the Charter Schools Advisory Board is the Charter Schools Advisory Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. All right, our first order of business is to approve the October minutes, which have been emailed to you.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion from Ms. Reeves and a second from Ms. Kakadelis to approve. Any discussion or debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the October minutes are approved. And next, we have the approval of the agenda for November. If anybody wants to cut it in half, we would entertain.
I move that we approve it as written.
The motion to approve the agenda is written. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second from Ms. Butterworth. Any discussion or debate on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. Before we move into the agenda, does anybody have anything they need to share, change? All right. Well, then, we'll get started. Our first order of business is to reconsider Old Main Stream, which was an application that was before us, went through the clarification, and then went through the full interview process. And I believe it was it by a 5-4 vote?
4-3.
4-3 by a 4-3 vote was recommended for ready-to-open status on an accelerated basis. That was considered by the State Board of Education at their meeting last week, and they have asked us to reconsider our recommendation pursuant to the State Board policy that if they think they're going to vote opposite of what our recommendation is, for us to reconsider it before they vote. So we do have the board members from Old Main Stream here. If anybody does have any questions for them, I don't know, Dave or Ms. Picaro, if y'all have anything that you wanted to share that the state board, since I wasn't at the state board meeting.
There was quite a bit of discussion about this application. There was, Alex did a great job presenting it. There was concern of the 4-3 vote. There was concern of the situation in Robeson County. There was some questions about the curriculum. So that's why there's send it back to you for further discussion and to make another recommendation.
I mean, I've gone back through it, and then I even took the opportunity to go and read part of the Red Pedagogy book that was there. And after going back through and looking at it and talking with Olivia Oxendine, Dr. Oxendine on the state board, and she indicated to me that she was not in support of the school after we discussed. And I think my vote was to approve the school previously. I'm leaning the other way now after doing some more research into the thing. I think that the school could be good. I think there needs to be some clarification, because what we were told in the interview that Red Pedagogy sounded more like a culturally responsive thing, and when I read the book, it did not seem like a culturally responsive thing to me. It seemed like there was just a disconnect between what was in the book that supposedly the Red Pedagogy was based off of versus the versus what was in the application and what was relayed at the application interview.
I did the same thing. I went and researched the book and came away with the same conclusion. The impression I had of what red pedagogy would look like at All Mainstream and what the theory behind it was did not match up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Ford.
do we have anybody here from the proposed school that you're going to allow to speak?
Yes, and anybody that has a question of them, I'm sure they can ask.
All right.
Do you have a specific question you'd like to ask them, or would
No,
you just
I'm
like to
just,
hear their?
I'm new to the situation other than what I've read. I'm very interested in hearing what they have to say and see if there's any new information
Right.
that may come out or some revelation that we may not be made aware of.
How about we unless there's an objection, let's give the board chair of Old Mainstream 5 minutes to make the case for the school.
Sounds good.
Good morning. I am Rosemary Lowry Townsend, and I serve as the board chair to Old Mainstream Academy. But at this time, I would like to defer the opportunity to do an explanation of that to Dr. Brenda Dees.
Okay.
Good morning. When we went to the State Board of Education meeting, there was a gentleman, Mr. Donnell Cannon, the time is now, addressing student needs despite actual or perceived barriers. And what I would like for you to understand is that red pedagogy it's the foundation is that. You know, we recognize the barriers. We also sent a culturally responsive teaching and learning. And we want you to understand that this is place-based education. And it is addressing the needs and the barriers that exist in our community. And, you know, looking at it, it's kind of almost like, you know, you see all these like red education or red for education, the red hats. You know, it's an empowerment, it's identity. And you know, Mr. Donnell Cannon, he spoke about that, how significant that was in the learning process for students, especially students of color. So, you know, we took that and we looked at, of course, you know, there are a lot of impoverished students in Robeson County. There are 34 tribal affiliations that has never been acknowledged. And we can take that and we can increase the state's proficiency rates based on looking at how you can pair rigor of the STREAM core disciplines with the red pedagogy, which is culturally responsive learning and teaching, you know, teaching resiliency, teaching how to problem solve with issues that are right there at hand and the barriers that exist in our community.
Question?
I don't have a question. You know, if you finished your, I was not here at the last meeting to cast my vote, and I would like to make a few statements about the application. I'm thankful I do get an opportunity today to share my heart with you. Number one, the application, I appreciate your board's commitment to close subgroup academic gaps. That is imperative that we do this. And I, for one, am extremely frustrated as being on a local board of education in the 90s that low-performing schools are still low-performing schools. And I really am at a no-excuse place now in my life. I think the partnership with Pembroke is excellent, especially since they decided not to do a lab school. Mm-hmm. And I think that's good. I could not be more embracing of being culturally relevant. So those are the things I think are strong in your application. And I am going to tell you I will not support the application today. And I'll tell you why. But with that, I hope you come back with a better application because the need in the county is great. I am not voting to deny the application based upon what was discussed at the state board meeting. we have counties across the state that are losing enrollment. And I don't want to just reward one county because they're almost $2 million in debt, and other counties are not. So I struggle with the reasoning of that. However, these are the things that are disturbing to me. Number one, the mission statement. It's the only mission statement I've seen that just says that they will grow indigenous leaders. I'm assuming that word is for American Indian. Okay, so your mission statement says that you are going to grow American Indian leaders and practitioners. What are you going to do if a white child comes, or a black child comes, or a Hispanic child comes? I know your heart would be to grow them as leaders too, but that's not what your mission statement says. The other thing, when your red pedagogy throughout the whole application is capitalized. I tried to search for where it said place-based and had red pedagogy together anywhere on the internet. Now, not that I believe everything on the internet, but just something that could guide me. The only thing I could find was this book. Let me read you a couple of statements from this book, because it is critical theory. It says the Red Pedagogy's commitment to bring together critical indigenous studies and critical pedagogy, including Marxism, in a dialectical revolutionary relationship. That's from the book. Here is from the Cornell Chronicle. It states, this is the author, the United States is a nation defined by its original sin, the genocide of American Indians, and everything afterwards is just another chapter in the fall from grace. I did not find one thing in the book that talked about the greatness of America. Now, let me make it perfectly clear. America has sins. There are things I wished we had never done, slavery included. Bad marks on our country. But we learned from them, and we're changed, and we're not what we used to be. And I've got to say that everything I found was divisive instead of bringing unity. So my desire would be that you bring back another application. And if you have, I would stay away from red pedagogy as far as I could, especially capitalizing it, which has to mean this book. And bring in unity, and bring in everything you would have to do to close the gaps. The gaps, there's absolutely no excuse. We've got to close the gaps. And also a mission statement that is inclusive and brings unity. And I would support it then.
You know, the only response I can have to that is, you know, we have to, you know, this is, in case you aren't aware, Indigenous Month. It is Indigenous Month. November is Indigenous Month. And, you know, we can talk about divisive, but, you know, the actions are that American Indians are still divided. You know, we're and there is a culture. Now, you know, we want to be inclusive, and I will tell you this, Southeastern tribal people have been so very inclusive. You know, when we bring somebody in and they are accepted into the community, then, you know, they grow as family. We accept them, they accept our culture, and we work towards that. You know, I think that what we're asking to do is to show a model, not only to our folks, but to other people, because, you know, there are indigenous communities and tribal nations across the United States looking at this. And if you look at research, you will also understand that across this United States, American Indians do not fare well in typical education. They have to have a sense of belonging. There has to be that acknowledgement that there is going to be cultural relevance in the process. Now, you know, I mean, you can tell us that, and we can do that. We can bring back another mission statement. We can have unity, but it also needs to speak to the indigenous communities. As I stated before, there are 34 tribal affiliations. If you went on SACE, that's a part of DPI, and you read some of those reports, you would see how separate families in just the state of North Carolina feel from the process of education and school. And I will tell you this as well. I have been in the different, I've been to the Holloway-Saponis, I've been to the Coharies, I've been across the American Indian communities here. I've been in school districts where there's not one American Indian entered into the pipeline for higher or advanced curriculum because they feel like they are not capable or they don't have the ability. And what I can tell you is this. There are abilities among American Indian children. And I'm going to tell you this. Historically, this state and the United States have not met those needs, ma'am. And all we're asking is for a chance. And yes, you know, we did give a nod to the American Indian and the indigenous communities because we want the doors to be open. But we also recognize those doors are going to be open to all children. I worked in the public schools. You know, I would never discriminate. But I also understand that if we don't do something different, the schools are going to continue to fail. Now, if you have a model and you show success, if the success is there, you can best believe, even if that model is modified to an extent, they're going to fit it into any community that has students of color. That's all I can tell you.
Ms. Turner.
I am a proponent of culturally relevant all over the place. I serve a community that also requires it. However, culturally relevant doesn't have or shouldn't mean other people are bad.
No.
And what I saw in Red Pedagogy was the suggestion that other people are bad. And I don't think that we ought to be teaching that to anybody in our schools.
We would not teach that. As I said before, you know, if you look at the South Indian tribal communities, especially our region, I mean, it's very diverse. Our community is considered the most diverse rural community or county in the United States. We have a plethora of people. And not only that, do you also, you know, on top of that, you have those 34 different tribal affiliations. So we not only have Caucasian and African American and American Indian, we have diverse American Indian representation. No, you know, and that's all I can tell. It has long been a community of welcome. And we do that. We do that and we embrace people. But we also know that you have to, inside of that, you also have to have expectations for your own folks. There also has to be accountability, and there also has to be teaching of resiliency. And I will not tell you that that has in some ways decreased over the decade, 2 decades, in a mighty way, in a major way, in a critical way. Because, you know, you can go back to my father's generation, and there were people there that went out. They knew how to go out and get their education. We were taught that. You know, we were taught that. And now when you look at our their great-grandchildren, that's not happening. So we know there has to be a solution. There has to be. And you know, this is the way. And I'm just going to be honest with you. You've got to open the doors. You have got to say, you know, you belong and you are going to live up to your potential.
Again, I will say, I hope you come back next year. I appreciate your passion. But the mission statement has got to change. And the red pedagogy, as far as it's in this book, it's got to go away. Cultural relevance, fine. Place-based, that was innovative to me. But there's nothing in red pedagogy about place-based. If it is in the book, please show me. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Harvey Godwin is the tribal chief of the Lumbee Indians. Is he here today, or is he embracing the school? What are his thoughts on the school? Because you would think that the chair of the Lumbee tribe would be here.
Initially, the school was going to be located at the Boys and Girls Club, which is a part of the tribal complex.
Mm-hmm.
And he instructed, he told Dr. Townsend, who is the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club,
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, continue our work. You know, but
So
we
you
wanted-
are telling me that Harvey Godwin is endorsing and embracing this school?
I am saying that he is very aware. I don't know, you know, in the out or in the political realm. And I've told, you know, and we've been upfront with the fact that the politics is very complex in Robinson
Well, and
County.
you also said the last time you were here that Olivia Oxendine endorsed the school. You went to church with her. You said she endorses the school. Or somebody did. I was listening.
She told us that. And in fact, we had a meeting, and in fact, after the State Board of
No,
Education.
this was before the clarification interview.
Oh, absolutely. She told us that she was advocating. That the word she used was advocating.
I
Okay,
Okay.
so it's about 9:20. Any more questions at this time? Okay, I'm gonna ask for a motion. Does someone have a motion?
I make a motion that we do not forward this application.
second that.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I would just concur with Mrs. Kakadelis that they have a strong board, they carry a lot of credentials, they've done impressive preparation. But in my own reading and exploration of the pedagogy, I found it to be, it seemed to be activist related to me. It spoke about community power and sovereignty and other things that are of concern, and I would just encourage you, as she has, to consider a different track, a different format of pedagogy rather than the red pedagogy, if nothing else, because of the connotation and implications and books that are written about it. It may be something you embrace in what you see as a more instructional, innocent way, but it would not come across that way, I don't believe, to the general public if it did not to us. So I do hope, I hear your passion, and someone has to advocate for the underserved. I appreciate what you're doing for the underserved in your community, but I would just concur with my fellow board member that we need a different approach.
Okay. I mean, we had a good talk. I like this group's passion, and I think you know, there is obviously some conversations and some work that you can do around a variety of topics here. I'm gonna support the motion consistent with how I voted originally, and I just want to be really clear for me and for the board why I'm voting this consistently with what I thought before. I believe there's there has to be a very high bar for an accelerated applicant. There has to be a high bar for all applicants, but especially in acceleration. And I felt from the beginning that this application can still need some work to be, if it were to be accelerated. And that for me right there is, there is a high threshold, and I don't feel that the application meets the threshold. Just even from the interview and from the application. I do feel like this group is deeply passionate about the work that they do, and I think I want to make sure that we honor and respect their efforts to serve a population of students specifically that is being left behind. And that's the reality, that historically disenfranchised children in our country are being left behind across all types of races. And I want to make sure that I honor and respect your desire to do that. I just think that in order to qualify for an acceleration at this point, I'm not ready to support it.
I really do hope y'all come back next year. I mean, I really think that the school's needed, and I think that you can make, I don't think there's a whole lot of big changes that have to be made with the application to garner enough support to be able to move it forward.
Thank you.
All right. Motion is to not move Old Main Stream forward. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Yeah, Linda Lynn.
Linda Lynn, second. All right, motion carries. All right, it's about 9:28, and so hopefully we have Dr. Williams. You've 2 minutes for us to get back on track.
No pressure.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to provide your monthly application update. Specifically, we will cover the application timeline and process and the applicants who will come before you for clarification today. If you remember, this board decided that it would prefer to conduct all clarification interviews before moving into full interviews. So the Office of Charter Schools will present a proposed full interview schedule once all applicant groups have received an opportunity for clarification. Your December interviews are contingent upon the recommendations that you make today. Finally, we will end with any closing questions or remarks.
I'm gonna do that.
So as you know, we follow an approved timeline and process, which this board recommended to the State Board of Education. Because of time constraints, I won't go into detail on this slide unless anyone needs a refresher. Okay. On the next slide, you will see that your application cycle status to date includes 19 groups having submitted an application, 1 for fast track replication, and 4 accelerated applicants. 2 of those 4 accelerated applicants were approved by the CSAB in October. One of them will be considered further by the State Board at its meeting in December, and of course you've just made the decision about the second one for revised revision to the State Board. 6 regular timeline groups appeared for clarification in October, and 5 of those 6 were forwarded to full interview. Today, you have 8 regular timeline groups appearing for clarification.
Dr. Williams, the 2 accelerated that were approved, was the one that we just spoke with one of those?
Yes, ma'am. So now, when I come back in December, I'll say you have 1 accelerated applicant approved.
And is that Davis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, so just to review the process for today, very briefly. Remember, this is a 30-minute opportunity. I will provide you with a brief overview of the application coming before you. Applicant groups will then have 5 minutes to come to the podium, give brief introductions and remarks related to their application, and then they will sit. You can call them to the podium as you see fit to ask them specific questions for clarification, trying to refrain from asking them full interview questions. Clarification interviews are conducted at the committee level, and each clarification interview will be led by either the committee chair of the committee reviewing the application or the advisory board chair. Those
assignments have been outlined on your agenda. The committee will then deliberate and vote, and ultimately, the committee will make a recommendation to the full CSAB whether or not the applicant group that is before you will move forward to a full interview. Are there any questions about this process? As I said a moment ago, 8 schools will appear before you today. They were notified of their clarification opportunity on October 14th. After external evaluator feedback, our office released those clarification rubrics to these 8 applicant groups on October 29th. Any written responses submitted by those applicants have been forwarded to this board as well as uploaded to eBoard for your review and consideration. The November Policy Committee reviews include Telra Institute, the Soaring Eagle Academy, Clara Science Academy, and Huntersville Charter High School. Clara Science and Huntersville Charter are repeat applicants. None of these applicant groups have submitted a special request. The November Performance Committee reviews are Rhys Academy, Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts, Beam Academy, and Power Elite Male Academy. Rhys, Lighthouse, and Power Elite are all repeat applicants. Each one of these applicants has requested to partner with Torchlight Academy Schools, LLC. At the conclusion of these 8 clarification interviews today, we will conclude the clarification interview process for the 2019 application round. December interviews are to be determined, but will begin during your meetings on December 9th and 10th. Any questions?
All right. We're ready.
Mr. Chair, are you ready?
We're ready.
For me
Let's
to
do it.
introduce your first applicant group?
Let's jump in.
First applicant group is Rhys Academy. Rhys Academy intends to locate in Wake County. In year 1, they will have students in grades K through 4, 210 students in grades K through 4. Year 2, 215 students in grades K through 5. Year 3, 294 students in grades K through 6. Year 4, 336 students in grades K through 7. And year 5, 378 students in grades K through 8. At capacity, they will have 378 students in grades K through 8. An LEA impact statement has been provided to the board. No due diligence has been performed. No special requests have been supplied. This is a repeat applicant. Last year, they received a full interview. This applicant group has partnered with Torchlight Academy Schools, LLC, and the application has been deemed complete.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. First, I want to introduce myself and, of course, my board. My name is Renata Pryor, and I'm a practicing federal criminal defense attorney who represents the indigent in federal court and state court in North Carolina, primarily in Middle District of North Carolina, which encompasses the cities of Durham to Winston-Salem. I've managed and operated Hearn Law Center for about 12 years. Ursula Rowland, who's also on the second row, she is a senior project manager business analyst who has consulted with major corporations such as IQVIA, Duke, and Restoration Community Church. In addition to consulting, she is a business coach and ordained pastor. Alongside the senior pastor, they manage and operate a nonprofit ministry for over 8 years. Osrif Meady is a certified public accountant who has managed the financial operations of charter schools throughout his career. He manages and operates Meady CPA in Raleigh for over 10 years. His children are currently building a nonprofit that will benefit the community, and he's also present. Keith Lucas is a senior program manager at Fidelity Investments who is responsible for system-wide implementation of database masking and database encryption. He has been within this field for over 25 years. Cynthia Easter has been a special education teacher since 2014, but has been in the classroom with students for over 15 years. And Crystal Holmes and Candace Stoke, I provided their professional backgrounds in our clarification written response, but they both have also been in the classrooms and also have had the opportunity to work with those with disabilities. I bring our years and our experience before you this morning, not to boast, but just to show our dedication and commitment to what we trust and what we believe in. We all have dedicated ourselves to our passions, and Rhys Academy will be the same for us. We have built habits and diligence throughout withstanding the trials of running firms, businesses, and nonprofits. We take the responsibility of operating a successful charter school. We take the responsibility of planting a globally competitive seed within our youth. We take the responsibility of educating our parents for success in our community, and we take the responsibility of discharging our duties as board of directors. And we do not take this responsibility lightly. When it was brought to our attention about the facts surrounding Three Rivers Academy and S.C. May Kaiser Fox Charter School first year operation, we as a board began working on a contingency plan for success. We give credit to Torchlight Academy LLC for providing us with a capacity plan, and that Torchlight Academy has continuously and has provided us information showing that they consistently have exceeded expected growth for at least the past 4 years. We have reviewed Wake County School Impact Statement, performance data for the Three Rivers Academy and S.C. May Kaiser Fox Charter School was not publicly available to us prior to the submission of our charter application. We will continue with our due diligence with the management company with Rhys Academy's mission for success as the key indicator of whether we move forward. At this time, it is noted that the allegations surrounding have not been adjudicated, and we hope that we will not be denied based on the management company. However, if this advisory board is not willing to move forward with the management company involvement, then we are prepared to go forward without the management company. Our contingency plan, we had an opportunity to discuss it at our board meeting, and we've reached out to key leaders, Portia Scott, who's at Envision Science Academy, and Thomas Miller, who's at Leaders Building Leaders. We are continuously moving forward, noting what has been handed to us. In addition to the professionals we have on the board, we are passionate advocates. Some are parents, grandparents of children in Wake and Johnson County District looking to enroll them in the charter school. All of us joined together with one mission in mind: to provide students a well-rounded education to prepare them for a globally competitive society. What that means to us, the board, that students will be fully engaged in a rigorous STEAM infusion program that will prepare them to enter our global community prepared through their learning capacity. We will introduce active-based learning with emphasis on the arts. It has been well researched and documented that position our students for both convergent, which is the science, the technology, engineering and math, and divergent, which is the art skills, will position them and our nation for global competitiveness. We are on track that there are more than 2 million unfilled STEM jobs today. The STEAM Infusion program will be access points for guiding student inquiry, dialogue, and critical thinking. We have a qualified board, a good education plan, and we do believe a sound budget. We request today that our application move to full interview. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That's a good overview.
Thank you.
Performance committee now will discuss or ask questions. Again, for clarification purposes, I'll open it up to my colleagues. We can begin with mission statement or
Yeah, that's
whatever.
my, one of my first questions, Linda. The mission statement in and of itself is very vague. It just says we'll provide a well-rounded education. What does that mean? And then it goes into, when the application breaks down into the vision, et cetera, it starts speaking to the arts and STEAM infusion and foreign language, but this is not indicated at all in the mission.
Right. I had some real concerns about that because, and maybe we could just ask you,
Yes, ma'am.
how will you know if your students are globally competitive?
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm used to being in court.
Your Honor.
No,
Don't say that to her.
You're an attorney, and trust me, I'm not.
I've done it too, it's okay.
I'm so used to being in court. I
That's
apologize.
that's perfectly okay.
Madam,
You can just call me Linda Lynn, it's fine.
yes, ma'am. We are prepared through our mission statement, and we do understand, and we understand, of course, the concern with the vagueness, but we wanted to make sure that our mission statement encompasses all things. One of the most important things that we are really focused on is probably the STEAM and active-based learning. I believe that those two programs and the infusion of the STEAM program, which is the science, technology, the engineering, the arts, and the math, will have an effect on what's going on in our community today. Of course, with technology, our kids are coming out of the womb ready to use a cell phone, which is absolutely amazing. Not that I'm so far away from those that are coming out of the womb, but I didn't start with a cell phone. So having the ability to be able to be 1 year old or 2 year old and be able to not only change a password, but be able to go in and proficiently use the system. And so we wanted to make sure that our mission statement encompasses those who have the advantage of having a connection to technology, but also who don't have that advantage as well. So we didn't want to enclose our mission statement to only include those who have the access to it, but we wanted to make sure that we provide the access so they'll have the ability to be able to be well-rounded is what we are calling it.
You understand that since that is so important, the STEAM aspect of that.
Yes, ma'am.
STEM instead of STREAM, whatever,
Yes.
everything inclusive. I get sometimes kind of concerned that we emphasize everything, and when you emphasize everything, you don't emphasize anything, kind of thing.
I understand.
But that would be good to have in your mission statement.
I mean, otherwise, if you are purporting that you're a STEAM-infused school, yet your mission, which is what you're trying to draw parents in with, has no mention of that. Same with the arts and foreign language, which are thrown into the body. You know, how am I, as a parent who's seeking that other opportunity for my student, to know what you're offering if it's not out there in and the mission should be your in-the-face statement.
We understand that, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. And we do, I will state in our logo, the RISE logo does have STEAM that is attached to it. So it does have the RISE is written, but then on the top of it does have STEAM spelled out. But we do understand, and we would like if you would give us the opportunity to clarify that more.
Anything else?
And I would just go even a step further into the goals of the school.
Yes.
There seem to be compliance-based things that you just generally have to do to keep a school open. And in the academic section, I don't see any mention of STEAM there either. So I would just infuse it even further into
Yes.
the application.
And we appreciate that. And we wanted to make sure that it was understood that it was an infusion program, not that it was the curriculum. I think that's what we were trying to clarify from last year with our applicant, which was more drawn with more of the STEAM. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't, that it was more focused on the STEAM as an infusion process to it. But we do have underlying curriculums, but I do understand and we agree. Thank you.
So explain your infusion piece then.
So the infusion pieces, although we have the main, which is Teach Like a Champion, and all the main curriculums, we plan to use STEAM as almost a gateway or access. So introducing technology and arts as a way to teach math and science and those type of curriculums is more of the infusion part that brings in the availability for technology. But continuing to make sure that our school is a success is based on the main curriculum.
Okay, anything else? Education plan.
Well, you know.
I found the education plan lacking description, and when I went and I pulled up the, let me see, I got so many pages.
There's like an education closet.
The daily schedule, and then looked at the scope and sequence. And really, the scope and sequence, that's good, but it's not really what we're asking for. We're asking for, you know, to show us one curriculum piece all the way through. And that just had kind of standards listed.
Okay.
But it was not until you got to the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade that you got STEAM infusion.
Okay.
And yet, if that's going to be your centerpiece, and you're not doing it K-5, and that was on your scope and sequence that I saw, that was concerning to me.
Yes, ma'am. And so, if, do you mind if I explain just a little
Yeah,
bit?
right.
Yes, thank you so much. And so, one of the things when we did have the opportunity to do a little bit more research into STEAM, we understand that, of course, as they get older, they're going to attach to it more. Some of even the equipment that we wanted to, that Google was going to provide to us, they limit as far as the student being able to take the actual tablets home, to be able to take those things home. And so we wanted to make sure that when it gets to the age where they can take it home, that was more infused there. But we do plan to introduce it in K through 5 as well. And we would like, if you give us the opportunity to clarify that a little bit more.
Yeah, for me, Lyndalyn, the ed plan was more or less, it wasn't like the meat of it, it was a listing. We're gonna have STEAM infusion, active-based learning, teach like a champion, culturally responsive teaching, foreign language study, computer coding, leadership and ethics. I mean, and they were all just listed like one after the other. The curriculum is a North Carolina Standard Course of Study, K through 8 arts integration, STEAM curriculum supplement, from educationcloset.com. SchoolNet was going to be used for benchmarks. The only thing that was like specific was the K2 reading was stated that it would be phonics based
Orton Gillingham,
on the Orton Gillingham model.
which is great.
But then for math, it said the focus would be on place value and the basic elements and properties of numbers. What?
Yeah,
For a math curriculum?
right.
Science, NASA resources. Arts, again, it was performance, artistic expression, music appreciation, art through the ages. It's like a listing of potential resources, but not the meat of what is your curriculum. So I have no understanding of, I mean, I hear you that STEAM's going to be infused. I saw the scope and sequence. I looked at the daily schedule. You've got the blocks of time, but to me, none of that meshes together to show me what is being taught, how it's being taught.
Right.
And the other thing, and speaking of the daily schedule, school begins at 7 a.m., so you have students and teachers arriving at 7 a.m., okay? And it goes until, for the students, 3:35. I'm assuming, are teachers leaving at the same time?
I would have to defer that question only because I cannot answer that right at this moment, but it is our plan that our teachers would stay after as normal to help, of course, with the busing and the policies, and then, of course, after that, for any time that they have.
Which is what I would assume too.
Okay.
So you're already from 7 to 3:35, that's already an 8.5 hour day. Now, I do know that it said the teachers would get a planning time and then a lunch break, but a lunch break obviously is not gonna be that long, and planning should be a part of their daily schedule. So your, the salaries are not competitive for Wake County, and you're asking teachers to put in over 9 hours a day. That's
Just
concerning.
some concerns. Anything else from the committee? Any other questions?
I think I understand where you're going with the STEAM infusion component. As I saw it in every subject area, you just have a intention to emphasize something from the sciences, technologies, math, etc. Your teachers will have to be very equipped to manage that kind of curriculum. And so in looking at your professional development, can you describe who's providing that type of development or what the program for development is? Because in the plan I looked at, it looked like you had maybe a day at best, which would probably end up being about 6 hours for your teachers to grasp this and to be able to deliver it in the classroom daily, all year, in every subject. So just wondering what your plan for that development is, so they're prepared.
Okay, and so at this time, we have prepared that the first 2 weeks of course, the management, and I understand your question. I want to make sure I answer correctly. It is our intention that every day, including for the training, is STEAM infused, as well as how we're doing the courses. So they have to make sure that we're hiring, of course, teachers that are able and capable to do the basic curriculum, but we want to teach the STEAM infused. It is our plan to not only hire or bring in key leaders who not only are professionally, not only have researched and also have written many books and reports to come in and actually do the day that you're speaking of. That's more of the key leaders and more of the motivating part. But every day when we are training them, we'll have the STEAM infused in there. So we will teach it throughout the year. We will teach it. We also will provide a reward sensitive for those that are actually going out and getting themselves certified in it. So there are other ways that we plan to make sure that our teachers are qualified in those areas.
So specifically, have you selected any materials, any professional development materials?
We have not just the regular Teach Like a Champion. Is that what you're asking? I'm not sure that's what you're asking.
For the STEAM infusion component.
We actually have a model that we're following that is based out of New York that we're following. We've been in close connection and contact with them as far as how do we institute this once we are provided. But of course, we have to get through this part of the interview in order to be able to successfully be able to retain them or have them come in for key leaders.
Okay.
But we couldn't do it until we got this interview.
All right, I'm
What
gonna
is
kind of
that model?
stop it. Oh, you wanna go?
No, it's
Go
okay.
ahead. The model in New York, real
Yeah,
quick?
it's all right.
Okay, well, I was just gonna go ahead, I'm trying to keep us on schedule.
Sorry.
And so if there's any discussion between, maybe y'all's thoughts,
I have one question about facility that is a clarifying
okay,
thing, I think.
real quick.
So in the application, in one place it says that the EMO is going to provide the facility, and in another place it says they will not. Can you clarify that for me?
Yes, it is our responsibility as the board to provide the facility. And they are responsible for managing all the things that are provided for the facility. So they will be not co-partnering because we cannot co-partner in that particular share, but we are responsible as the board to, and they're helping us, assisting us in finding the location, being with us to go through the process, but it's their responsibility to manage it, but it's our job to actually go forward with purchasing.
So the lease, so in the budget, there's a line item for the EMO's fee, and then there's a line item for like all the expenses related to the facilities and the cost of the facility.
That's correct, and we are responsible for the cost of the facility. That's correct.
One thing about, and we don't even have to have a comment really about it, because I was concerned about this, that you've talked about a transportation coordinator and nutrition provider very clearly in the narrative of the application, but when you go to the budget, there's not one listed, and personnel, and so that was concerning. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of bring this to an end for clarification purposes. Comments or a motion that we can present to the full board?
Lake County gave us a impact statement on this one, didn't they? Yeah. And you can see that it's
I was concerned about
very
that.
congested in
I was
this
concerned.
area.
We've had a real tough time with,
What, the issue I have is this budget is the same budget that's put forth for every school submitted by the EMO, and clearly a school operating in Wake County should have a different budget than a school in Bladen County
Greene County.
or Greene County, and where's the other one? I can't remember. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've heard of concerns. I think we've all expressed some concerns on the application. But again, we hear your passion and your desire, which is great. That's positive. Do I have a motion to present to the other board, to the rest of the board? You may want to make a motion here.
This is a second go around.
I know. I didn't see the clarity in the application that we asked for last time.
Right. I mean, the same
Okay,
questions I
we need to
had.
move on, guys. Okay,
I make a motion that we do not move it forward.
okay,
I'll second
second that, okay, it's been moved in second. All in favor of denying, moving forward the application? Okay, I do too. Mr. Chair, we have voted, and I make a motion that we do not move the application forward to a full interview.
All right. It's been properly moved and seconded. Well,
Go ahead and second.
who's, can I get a second?
second.
All right, so this committee has voted not to move Rhys Academy forward for an interview. Any further questions or discussions?
I'm really impressed with the board chair.
Yeah, she's great.
Yes.
I mean, I think, in my mind, a lot of it is, just still a capacity issue with the EMO. And nothing against the EMO at all, just a, capacity issue. I think makes it difficult.
We didn't even
Yeah, we didn't even go
discuss
to
that.
that, but
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, Joel, are you
In favor.
favor? Okay. All right, motion carries.
Thank
okay,
you.
thank you.
Oh, thank you so
And
much.
Please keep your passion,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
okay?
So Stephen vote is.
What's that? Yep.
What's next?
This one's ours, tell her.
Mr. Chair, would you like to move forward with the next
Yep,
applicant
let's keep
group?
going. Yep.
The next applicant group is Telra Institute. The school intends to, or the board intends to locate the school in Mecklenburg County. The proposed enrollment is 238 students in grades K through 4 in year 1, 298 students in grades K through 5 in year 2, 318 students in grades K through 5 in year 3, 4, and 5, with 318 students in grades K through 5 at capacity. An LEA impact statement has been provided for you. No due diligence has been requested. This board has not requested any special items. This is not a repeat applicant, and they have not partnered with an EMO or CMO or had special assistance provided for the completion of their application. The application has been deemed complete.
Morning.
One of the persistent myths in education is that gifted learners will do just fine, that they don't need or deserve special attention. So the North Carolina AIG program standards rightfully reject this view. We recognize that when an appropriately differentiated education is not provided, gifted learners do not thrive in school, their potential is diminished, and they may even suffer from cognitive ineffectiveness. So in some cases, this differentiated education can be effectively provided in a child's home school through enrichment and other interventions, but in other cases it can't. And the best available research supports the idea that some students need a full-time, compacted curriculum with higher levels of abstraction and more complex problem solving. And offers a standard of study. So many school systems recognize this and offer specialized or magnet schools. Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, as an example, has 6 K through 5 talent development gifted schools. But unfortunately, the system that this creates offers some barriers to access. And we think that Telra Institute can mitigate some of those barriers. Now, the General Assembly recognizes this, that charter schools can play a role in serving these needs of this particular community, gifted students, and identifies this as a core purpose in the North Carolina Charter School Statute. So I'd love to talk about some of the barriers to access and how we think we can help as part of the public education system. We don't feel like we're an island. We think we can make a positive difference, but we also don't pretend to have all the answers. We're a community grassroots group. So we're going to look to the CSAB, the Office of Charter Schools, and other more experienced charter leaders to help us do better. I know a big part of this is understanding who we are as a board. So let me pause for a moment for introductions. My board colleagues are on the phone, so I hope they can speak up. But let me introduce myself. My name is Ronak Bhatt. raising 4 kids in Charlotte, so if you can see some of the gray streaks starting, that's probably why. 3 of them are in elementary school at CMS. I was in public school myself, one's still in preschool. My background's is in physics. I was an educator when I was a graduate student. Then more recently, when I worked as an adjunct faculty member at UNC Charlotte. I've also been working in strategy and management consulting for the last 13 or so years. Currently, I'm the Vice President of Corporate Strategy at Avantor, which is a company working to support scientists in academia, healthcare, and high tech. Let me see if my colleagues can jump in. So we can start with Dr. Matthews. Michael, can you speak?
Hello there.
Go ahead, Michael. Please introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Michael Matthews. I'm a professor of gifted education at UNC Charlotte, where I direct the teacher add-on licensure and master's programs in gifted education. I've also previously been a teacher of teachers who are seeking online classes in the ESL endorsement in Georgia.
Thanks, Michael. Tuhin, perhaps you could go next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. This is Tuhin Dutt. I have been in education for the last about 4 or 5 years in a private capacity. So I have a business where we provide many forms of gifted education to kids around the Charlotte area in math, technology, English language arts, so on and so forth. And I also personally teach a lot of the classes myself. Thank you.
Professor Ryder?
Hello, everyone. I'm Harold Ryder. I'm a professor of mathematics at UNC Charlotte. I've been involved in pre-college education for about 40 years, and in the last 10 years, especially at the middle school and upper elementary level.
Thank you, Harold. Ms. Malvo Ellerby, are you on the line?
I am. This is Judith Malvo Ellerby. I am a communications professional working with Wells Fargo. Previously, I was a newspaper reporter, and I spent 7 years doing communications with Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and some years after that working with the North Carolina Public Charter Schools Association doing communications.
Thank you, Judith. Dr. Denley?
Everyone, this is Gregor Ganley. I have 30 years in FinTech. I also have 15 years teaching in higher education, and most recently, I now teach in an Ivy Masters in Education program. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Reyes? Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Reyes. I'm a former educator in North Carolina. I have worked both in public and private settings as a special education teacher in inclusion, resource, and self-contained classroom settings, as well as I've been the director of an inclusion program at a private school for the past 4 years. I'm also a doctoral candidate finishing my dissertation and PhD this spring in paraprofessional training models for evidence-based practices. And I also am a mom of a young one, so I have a baby right here, so there might be some baby noises in the background. I apologize.
We appreciate this opportunity to come before you and are happy to answer any questions you have.
Great, thank you. I was impressed by the application, and obviously, I think the board, you just heard some of their bios there. I think this is innovative, and honestly, I'm in favor of moving them forward to a full interview, because this is, in my opinion, the type of type of innovation that we should be looking for from charter schools, which is trying to serve a specific population of students that is not being served, and in many ways might be being served. I want to be absolutely clear. The public schools do gifted education. They put kids in gifted ed programs. They have admissions-based high schools in my district that students have to qualify for. So, there is, I don't, if it's part of the school's mission and design, you know, I'm in favor of it, and I think, you know, I think there's a lot to talk about here, but the application was strong enough that I felt confident in bringing the group forward. In my opinion, I'd like to see them and have the deeper conversations.
Yeah, I agree that, I think it was a very good app. I think, you know, questions that I'll have at a full interview would be around the budget, which was pretty tight. Also, the transportation plan is just not sufficient. I mean, it's bad. It needs a lot more kind of beefing up and understanding. I mean, because there's going to be gifted students that don't have ways to get to to the school. The other thing just kind of goes around the gifted thing. There wasn't a weighted lottery that was played into it, and so, you know, about identification of gifted students, and then how you would market. You know, if your school is, you know, geared towards gifted students, how are you going to identify? How are you going to market? You know, and then how, you know, what's going to happen? You know, how are you going to handle EC? How are you going to handle? Which you can't have EC students that are also gifted students. But how is that going to play? And I think that's important. And then, but I did have one clarification question dealing with the budget. There's a line that's called a year zero loan repayment. Can you explain that to me a little bit?
Absolutely. So that was an acknowledgement that we have certain startup costs, right? We may want to bring on certain staff in year zero, or engage consultants, or expend marketing dollars. And so we wanted to make sure that was accounted for somewhere and recovered. Since submitting our application, we've talked to a number of service providers, as well as several charter school development companies, about alternate ways to finance that, right? And so right now, between deferring some fees for contracted services and pushing them out into the operating years of the school, and rolling some of the startup costs into the lease payments that we would eventually pay for, you know, assuming we have a developer build something for us. We think we don't need that loan as a separate line item, so hopefully that concern is allayed.
Okay. And somebody that does charter school budgets better than me, is it you can't use state funds to pay previous years, but you can use local funds to pay previous year expenditure? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was really the only clarification that I had, but I think it's a good application. I think there's a lot to talk about in a full interview, and it's interesting.
Yep, sure.
I agree that it's a good application and should go to full interview. I'm going to be really interested in what support you have for children who come who are not gifted, because you don't pre-identify. You're going to get anybody can apply, and you're going to get some kids who are not gifted. And how are you going to meet the needs of those kids?
How does Metrolina, have you researched, how do they pre-identify?
They have a pre-identify.
Yes, you have to take
you have to have an IQ of 130,
test.
135. 135. Yeah, they pre-identify.
Yeah, so again, I think I'm interested in having the actual board members here. Another question I'm going to have is, people have a lot of experience. I'm not sure if I heard of anyone that has kind of more of any experience, hands-on experience, like actually running a school. There's a lot of professors and things like that, and teach it, and you know, that was a question that, you know, I'll be interested in that.
I can respond quite plainly to that. So none of us on the board have been prior school administrators.
Sure.
That's a deficiency we recognize, we put forward in the application. That's a prime focus of my board development effort. So as a chairman, my biggest job in the last couple of months and the next 3 or 4 or 5 months has been trying to recruit and find the right, strong board team. And actually, one of the members, Elizabeth, is an addition since her application, because we recognize the lack of experience on special populations. So we're making strides, but you know, finding that right fit of someone who's been a principal or assistant principal at a prior school, charter or public, we really do want to try and get that right person on, or two.
This is a clarification. And there's no intention to have it be a middle school or a K-8. It would just be the elementary.
So when we look out at the needs for gifted children, the most glaring need that we see is K through 5. Because honestly, there are opportunities in high school and middle school, more opportunities for kids to kind of find the track, find the courses, take electives that are appropriate for them. But we feel like that level of differentiation is most constrained at elementary. Now, that being said, if this goes well and there's parent demand, it's something we could look at down the road, certainly the door would be open to that. But right now, we feel the most urgent need is K through 5, and that's where we want to focus.
I'm fine to bring them forward for an interview. I'm in favor.
I move that we move Teller Institute to full interview.
Second. All right, properly moved and second on the policy committee. All in favor? All right.
Mr. Chair, I move on behalf of the policy committee that we move Teller Institute forward for a full interview.
Cheryl?
Oh, second.
All right, great. Properly moved and second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of moving Teller forward to a full interview? Chair?
Oh, I thought that was still the
All right,
committee.
any opposed? All right,
I
motion
can't do
carries.
it.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
So I can disconnect the phone now, right?
All right, 10:30.
Okay,
Lighthouse.
10:30, and let's see, let me get my clock ready here. You're ahead.
Move forward.
Yep.
Yes.
The next applicant group
You caught up.
represents Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts. They are proposing to locate the school in Greene County with a projected enrollment of 220 students in grades K through 4 in year 1, 264 students in grades K through 5 in year 2, 308 students in grades K through 6 in year 3, 352 students in grades K through 7 in year 4, 396 students in grades K through 8 in year 5. Excuse me, with 396 students in grades K through 8 at capacity. The LEA has submitted an LEA impact statement. No due diligence has been requested. The board has not made any special requests. Thank you. This board is a repeat applicant and received a full interview last year. This board has partnered or is partnering with Torchlight Academy Schools LLC, and the application has been deemed complete.
Thank you for coming, and you can introduce yourself and other board members that are.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Shepherd, board chair of School of the Arts.
Speak up. Could you speak a little bit louder, please?
Open 2021.
Yeah, I don't think that microphone's working right.
Yeah, it's been acting up all day.
Check that. Set it up here. Is this better? Okay.
Much better, much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just hold it. That okay?
That'd be great.
All right. Again, my name is Kevin Shepherd. I'm the board chair for Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts. We plan to open. The plan is to open in 2021. When we initially submitted our application to you last year, we were planning to open it as a regular school with no focus on anything. But we decided to go with an arts-based focus because, for one, we wanted to do something different for Greene County. We wanted to provide a choice as well as to something that would engage the population that we are targeting. The population that we are targeting in Greene County is going to be the disadvantaged group of students, which tends to be minorities. As it stands, in the last couple of years, minority students have only performed at about 30 to 35% when it comes to the performance in the school as proposed to is about 60 to 70% to white students. We believe that this is an ongoing issue in Greene County for some time. And as well, in the Greene County School District, they have one primary school, which is kindergarten to first grade. They have one elementary, which is second and third. They have one, it's called Greene County Intermediate, which is 4th to 5th grade. And they have one middle school, which is 6th to 8th grade. Those schools, Greene County Intermediate School was the school that performed the best at a C level. The rest of the schools performing at a D or an F. So we believe that there's a need, a strong need for a school of choice in Greene County. And we believe that we're prepared to provide the parents and the citizens and the students with a choice. And we believe that the School of the Arts would be something that the children there would like. You know, being a African American, obviously, one thing that I know that we tend to, that tends to garner our attention is things based around the arts. It's music, dance, poetry, spoken word. So we believe that we have a great application in front of you guys with an opportunity for Greene County.
Okay. Do you have any other board members here with you today?
I don't today. Most of my board members are parents. So I didn't make it a requirement for them to be here today. And one of the main reasons because I know that we've come before you guys before, and we do believe that we've met the recommendations that you guys asked us in the last interview. I think that we've addressed those. So I'm just here today. Okay.
All right.
All right.
We appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to open it up to the Performance Committee. And I'll go ahead and say the Performance Committee got all 4 of the applications that we're going to use the EMO, the Torchlight School. So we're the ones that are reviewing all 4 of those applications today. The applications were very similar to one another, even though they may have a different emphasis. The applications, focus, they were very similar. All right.
Well, my big question is, well, I know last year, one of the things, and Mr. Shepherd spoke before us last year, and one of the things we said was, you know, you're proposing to put the school in Greene County, but nobody lives in Greene County. So you've added 1 board member that is a Greene County resident. There's still no educators on the board. I'm confused because the application says it's going to target Greene, but then it throws in, because I'm pretty sure Greene is a declining population, student population. So now we're going to throw in Pitt and Wayne, but then later in the application, it also says Wilson County and Lenoir County. I believe you work in Lenoir?
I work in Lenoir. Okay. But this is the thing. I have a strong connection, okay, to Greene County. While I live in Lenoir County, I'm in Greene County every day. I went to school in Greene County. My parents are from Greene County. My wife works in Greene County. My son goes to Greene County schools. While my office that I work at is based in Lenoir County, I'm in Greene County every day. I graduated from Greene County schools in 2000. My sister graduated from Greene County schools in 2000, and my mom and my father retired from Greene County. My mom retired from Greene County public schools about 10 years ago, and so I have a strong connection to Greene County.
With that being said, there's only 108 surveys, and less than half of those were from Greene County. So I just...
Well, the reason why we focused on other counties, because one of the recommendations that you guys gave us last year, or well, in January, you guys felt that we were pulling too many kids from Greene County. So we made an effort to pull from LEAs that are bigger, which is Wayne, Wilson, Lenoir, and Pitt. Pitt stands at having about a daily membership of about 23,000 kids. Lenoir is at about 8,000, Wilson 11,000, and Wayne 18,000.
Right.
So,
I had all that in there.
right. So part of the impact statement last year from the Greene County schools was that they felt like that we were being too much of a financial burden to Greene County. So we addressed that.
Yeah, and they made they had a very good impact statement again this year, Greene County.
Greene County did.
It's probably one of the better impact statements that was submitted. Yeah, my other question, and you did address this in your opening remarks. Last year, there was no mention for an arts focus. Now, it's like everything is infused with the arts. You refer to Sally B. Howard. Have you visited Sally B. Howard?
I haven't visited Sally B.
Have any
Howard,
of
but
your,
there's a charter school, and I'm sorry, sometimes I have a little anxiety. There's a charter school in Jacksonville that I visited.
Zika.
Yeah.
Which has not been successful at all.
Well, the point of going there was to kind of get exposure to what maybe a charter school of the arts would look like. What is the groundwork?
Please
What would
don't
it be?
use that as your model.
Okay.
Does this school have any connection, or there's a network of charter schools that are Lighthouse charter schools that are arts-based charter schools that are in Arkansas and some other states? Is that,
No.
is there any?
No.
Just like,
That was not in the application.
That was not in the application.
just
no, sir.
coincidental?
What you
Yeah,
mean?
what's
You mean did we just do? Are you saying did we just kind of poof this out the air? Is that what you're asking?
Well,
No.
yeah, like where did you get the,
Lighthouse charter.
like the name Lighthouse?
Lighthouse. Where we believe that in Greene County, we want to be a light. Right now, they're in the dark. Greene County school systems perform poorly. Okay, and part of the impact statement that Patrick Miller presented was that he said we weren't qualified. Now, if I would like to address the fact that obviously the Greene County Board, obviously they're qualified, but they have been performing poorly. I really don't believe that the Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts can do any worse. Okay, the fact that they pointed out that we don't have experience, to me, doesn't matter. Okay, they have experience, and I believe that we should be given the opportunity to provide this county with a school of choice, because the leadership that is in Greene County now, it is not working.
And I will tell you, I appreciate your passion, because that is my concern, is that we've got to do something to give people choice. And so I appreciate that. I'm going to ask the same question I asked at the other one. The art infusion, to be prepared, because it's not prepared yet. I think that's what TBP means, to be prepared. Is only in 6th and 7th and 8th grade. But yet your scheduling has, from 12:45 to 3:30 in the performing arts. Can you describe for me maybe?
Okay, so we've consulted with a couple of a young lady that I know who has done some stage productions. She's also a program writer for Pitt County Schools. Her name is Kimberly Lucas. One of the things that she strongly recommended is that when with the School of the Arts, she said I think would be effective if you guys will break this down in 3 parts. Number 1 would be written expression, which will focus around writing, poetry. 2, visual arts, which will put focus around the acting piece. And 3 would be production, meaning stage production. Obviously, K through 2nd grade, we'll be focusing on teaching them how to write, English. That they're not that experienced in learning how to write. So we will probably have them more so around maybe drama, maybe dancing, singing, something like that. Kindergarten through 5th grade, because we plan to open K through 5, we'll focus more on the writing piece. and the visual arts. As well, the kindergarten through second can help with the stage production. It doesn't take a whole lot of teaching to say, okay, kids, you're gonna move this prop over here. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, that's 3 hours a day from
No
4:45 to
instruction
3:30.
after 12 o'clock, basically.
That was concerning to me, the scope and sequence.
Uh-huh.
Having, I guess, kindergarten through 8th grade will have just the same daily schedule.
We're opening kindergarten through fifth. Now, the
Right,
the
but-
outlook moving forward will be kindergarten through 8, yeah.
But you will have the daily schedule will be exactly the same, kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
I mean, that's what was in the application.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it that way?
Well, part of this, when we open this school, I believe that the first year or two is going to be a strong opportunity for us to learn what's going to work and what's not going to work. If that doesn't work, then, obviously we can come back to the table, and the administrator that we will hire, as well as the teachers that we plan to hire, they will all have input as to how that day will look. Okay. All we did was just kind of put down, what we feel would be the best, but we're not experts. Okay. We're not.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee?
I have one about, can you tell us a little more about your board? It seems as though they have connections in the community, but not a lot of governance experience in terms of running a school. Do you have plans to
we don't have a lot as far as running school, but I have one of my board members have been working in the Lenoir County law enforcement system. I have one who has some finance background. I forget. I think she works at a bank. I have another who's works in the medical field. Myself, I've worked in mental health for a while because we know mental health is very important, especially when it comes to behaviors for kids. But to answer your question, do we have experience when it comes to, other than me being a substitute teacher for about 5 years, that's about it. However, we all have degrees. We went to school.
Do you have plans to increase your capacity to do some board development?
Sure.
On the books?
Yeah, sure. Which is why, we're looking to open in 2021. This is not an accelerated application. We want to take our time to do what's necessary to make sure that we provide a valuable product to the citizens of Greene County.
Okay, I have a clarification question.
Uh-huh.
About the facilities.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like it's going to be housed at Shepherd's Ministries. That's what was in
It's
the
on the campus of Shepherd Ministries, but they are totally separate.
Do you have any relations to Shepherd's Ministry or who the owners of it?
Yeah, the owner of Shepherd Ministries is my dad.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How have you? I mean, has there been a lease signed yet?
Have we signed a lease? See, because there are certain pieces there's certain pieces to it that I make sure that I stay clear of, that I allow Mr. Don McQueen to handle, because I do understand the conflict of interest that this could provide. So that question will probably be for Mr. McQueen. So we have a facility.
Okay. And
had a beautiful facility.
Right, I saw some of the pictures. The gym, the stage was gorgeous.
Yes, ma'am.
It was really nice. You said that you're targeting the disadvantaged.
Yes.
Why do you not have a weighted lottery?
Why do we not have a what now?
Why do you not have a weighted lottery?
Well, we don't have a weighted lottery per se, but we have a lot of input from the community about what they would like to have, and I believe that we've garnered enough attention to where we'll be able to fulfill the needs of what we need to get for Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts too. We have several partnerships with Greene County, and
if you do put in a weighted lottery,
Mhm.
that way you could target who you want to do. You can make
Yes,
sure
ma'am.
that they get in first, and especially if this is the only charter school in the county.
Gotcha. Great idea. Thank you for that.
That might be. Any other questions from my colleagues? We've got just a few more minutes.
I just have a little concern, Mr. Shepherd, in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
opening comments that stuck with me when you said the school would be arts-based, just kind of like, or something different, and they were
Mhm.
just doing something different, rather than articulating a passion for what the arts means to all of education and how some students learn through those methods. But
Yeah.
then that sort of, I'd like to have you speak to how you will prepare your teachers for this type of curriculum. There's nothing in professional development about being arts-based. What do you plan to do?
Well, one of the lady that I talked to you about before, her name is Kimberly Lucas. You guys might want to look her up. She's a program director for Pitt County Schools, and I've actually been in a few of her productions myself. And she has agreed to come in and to train our staff. In fact, she's the main person that I'm looking towards, as I would like to hire as our lead administrator for that school, because she also has about 10 to 15 years of teaching in Greene County. Then she moved to Pitt County. And right now what she does in Pitt County is she trains. She writes programs and she trains. She's like a mentor to teachers in Pitt County, and she would do great for our school. And I've been in constant contact with her about that as well. And she's considering it.
One other clarification question. The $50,000 that you're getting from the EMO?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a grant or a loan?
That is a grant.
Okay, so you do not have to pay that.
You don't have to pay that back. They are doing that to show that they are devoted and dedicated to seeing this through.
Okay.
And if they're gonna provide $50,000 from the jump, that's a great investment. So that's what that is.
One other clarification question, if no one else has anything. Is everybody okay? Pressing. When I looked at the financials, the
Yes, ma'am.
history of the finances, it was a little confusing to me.
Mhm.
If I was seeing the financials of Torchlight Academy or Torchlight Academy schools. And so I was wondering if the financials are Torchlight Academy schools, and then also there was a question, let me get this straight.
Okay.
On the top of one of them, it had,
Generation.
yeah, New Generation Academy,
Very confusing.
and then there was like 3 different names on the finances.
I'm sorry, what was the question relating to? Was the question about the financial wherewithal of the management companies?
Financial history, yeah.
Yes.
Did we see the finances of the EMO, or was it Torchlight Academy?
You saw the finances of the EMO. Fairly sure that that's what was presented.
Because it says on there Torchlight Academy, it doesn't say Torchlight Academy Schools.
I think what you received was our audits or from the previous years.
Right.
I don't think we had a discussion, and we sent a response with respect to the finances of the LLC being made public. I think there was a response to that specifically. Okay. And that was the concern. It was a demonstration of what the schools that we manage and what their finances are, but nothing about the privately held corporation, the LLC. So I think there was a concern about that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And where does
So
New Generation, where does New Generation come from then?
New Generation was one of our applications. I don't recall. I'm not looking at it, so I don't recall. Maybe there was confusion or something that was left in there.
Yeah, it was at the top of the page.
Was it? Yes, ma'am. Because it related to, I think, all the schools. Since we were writing the application for all the schools, it was exactly the same. The financial data or information would be exactly the same for the management company.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes, ma'am.
Torchlight Academy, the school, is not managed by Torchlight Academy Schools, correct?
Yes, it is.
It is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, yeah, then how do you delineate the finances from one of the other?
Well, it's been, I filed taxes, for the last several years, and they've all really been clearly delineated. Our taxes are right up to date, right through 2018. All of our P&Ls and the balance of our statements are all there.
So
Just different.
Torchlight Academy, the school in Raleigh,
Yes.
pays TAS a management fee?
Yes.
each year? Okay.
Same as was for SMA, same as was for Three Rivers Academy.
Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
what are the assets of TAS then? What would be your bottom line?
You're asking me for the bottom line assets of the EMO itself?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd have to give you I would rather give you a
The reason I'm
perfect
asking
answer.
is
Yes.
because there's this, with each of these applications, and I was trying not to make it about the EMO, but with each of these applications, each applicant group is stating that the reason they ultimately selected TAS is because of the promise of the $50,000 startup, as Mr. Shepherd just said, was a gift, a grant. So I'm just wondering about the financial healthiness of TAS in that they can give out these $50,000 grants.
That is certainly a reasonable question, and I hear Mr. Shepherd wants to respond to that.
Yes, ma'am. The way you proposed that question, you kind of made it seem as if as if we did it because he's going to offer us some money. We're not doing this for money.
No, that you taking my words out of context.
Okay, so
And my question was directed to Mr. McQueen's corporation's financial healthiness in supporting these schools that have put in applications, and that's pure and simple.
Okay.
We can demonstrate a financial healthiness for the support of these schools. I know we're in a good place to be able to help them as we go forward. We're talking about schools that are scheduled to open in 2021. And I find that most of those funds are needed about 3 or 4 months out prior to the school opening for facilities and for all the other things. So, yes. So the capacity is there, and we're not relying on our capacity just today. We're talking about our future capacity looking forward and being somewhat predictive when we make these projections. And so, yes, we're in the place to commit to do exactly what we've said. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
I found the other name. It's the Form 990 and
Yes.
page 25, appendix 19 and 25.
Oh, yes.
It talks about Northeast Raleigh Charter Academy. That's the name on the 990.
Thank you. That's a very good question. I get this a lot
Yes.
every time. When we came to this board 18 years ago, the school was Northeast Raleigh Chartered Academy. We had to move it from Northeast Raleigh to Southeast Raleigh. And so we asked the board to allow us to change the name to Torchlight Academy. So it's Northeast Raleigh Chartered Academy doing business as Torchlight
they need to
Academy.
put DBA in
Yes.
here.
Same tax ID number though, and all the rest is the
Okay.
same. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I understand that.
Get asked
All
that a
right,
lot.
We are, I don't want to get too far behind.
We're
ahead.
ahead of schedule anyway.
It still is.
Any other questions?
It's still true that Exhibit 4 says New Generation Charter Academy at the top, and then says Torchlight Academy in the heading, and then it's supposedly to be the revenue of the EMO and not Torchlight Academy. So we have 3 different entities on Exhibit 4 that it's confusing as to
It was just,
what
And
is
then
the
on the 990 where it says Northeast Charter School, that organization's mission is to operate a public charter school.
so.
Anyway.
All right, one other question, and it was the same as I had before on the other one. Your narrative is very clear that you're going to have a nutritionist and a coordinator for the buses, and yet that's not in the budget.
We've set aside about $15,000 for the budget, about the transportation. Yeah, that's
But that's for the buses, right?
That's for the buses.
It's not for the
Bus-
coordinator.
Yeah, the buses are listed as a contracted service, but not the coordinator.
Yeah, not the coordinator.
I think Adam was involved in the construction of the budget, and there was we wanted to address that at the last session as well, but.
Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Adam Ezel, and I help write this application. But with the transportation coordinator and the health services, that is in the operations component, that'd be contracted, and it falls within those line items. They wouldn't be FTEs, so we didn't put them in that particular area. For the transportation budget, it was about $250,000, and we believe $250,000 could encompass that transportation coordinator.
Okay. While you're here, that'd be great, because I have another question about, you put about $20,000 into your lunch program.
Right.
And what percentage of free and reduced lunch do you think you're gonna have? Because it said that, your target is,
So we see that as more as working capital, because we'd be receiving funds to operate that program. So you'd have that $20,000 set aside in order to operate that program and to cover the costs as you waited to be reimbursed for the free and reduced lunch program.
right, but you won't be reimbursed for another year.
You
You
won't
have to be,
well, they'll get the first reimbursement, what, December-ish?
December.
So that means you're operating a
If
school.
all their paperwork is done.
Right. So you're operating a school lunch program. I think
also
it was
lose
like
money on the
50%. Yeah, you're always gonna lose money on $20,000. You're not gonna feed children
breakfast and lunch.
breakfast and lunch on $20,000 for 4 months.
That is a concern.
The free and reduced lunch program, it's been a bit of a challenge trying to get on it and all those kinds of things. This school is scheduled to open in 2021. We're starting that process now. Once we get the go-ahead that we're going to be able to open, during the ready to open period, we'll be working with the free and reduced lunch organization here at DPI to get that done.
Okay.
So we could be hopefully ready day one.
Okay. That was just a concern. Any discussion between, what are y'all's thoughts about the application? What do you want, how do you want to move forward?
I'm not comfortable moving this one forward.
Okay, so you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we not move the Lighthouse Charter School of the Arts forward to a full interview.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. I will too, I'll go ahead with you guys. All those opposed? No. All right, so, Mr. Chairman, representing the Performance Committee, it was unanimous that we do not move the application forward for a full interview.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
All right. Seconded by Ms. Butterworth. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, call for a vote. All in favor? Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, can we take a break?
That'd be great.
Okay, so time is 10:45. Next one is at 11, so 15-minute break.
It was.